and they've been real pillars in our society, in business. They have broken those glass ceilings and they have opened those boardroom doors for other women to walk through. And we thank you for that. And one of the things that Mayor Irene has said is you can't lead if you're not a follower. Is that true? You can't speak and dialogue if you're not good at listening. Is that true? So let us be those women who lead by knowing also how to follow. Please also give a warm Sawidian welcome to Ms. Aletta Miller, the UN Women multi-country representative, who will also give us a few remarks in celebration of this 20th anniversary. So Mayor Aletta Miller.
Hi, good evening. You have another Aletta in the form of Ayanda Mvimbi. So I want to start by saying that happy anniversary, Sawidians. And I want to also repeat what Irene and other speakers have said before us, that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. Mamtoko, the leadership of Sawid, as UN women, we want to express and acknowledge your leadership, your work, the work of coordinators from the different countries and different provinces, the work of the Board of Trustees, and all the staff of Sawid. We want to celebrate and acknowledge you tonight. I also want to greet each one of you. You all look beautiful tonight. All the activists, the feminists, the change makers that are in this room. These past 4 days have given us a valuable opportunity to reflect, connect, share ideas, re-energize ourselves to continue working tirelessly for the advancement of women and girls globally. As a collective, we have made significant progress and achieved remarkable milestones through our collaborative efforts. This week has allowed us to highlight these achievements. At the same time, it is not mere coincidence that this gathering is happening at the same time that the world leaders are gathering in New York to assess progress on sustainable development goals. This week's Sawid conference has provided us with a platform to engage in candid discussion about the slow progress and what we require to do to overcome the barriers hindering the realization of Sustainable Development Goal number 5 in particular. It is a critical moment and a unique opportunity to decisively address gender inequality. We cannot ignore that yesterday we were highlighting the issue of the gap, of the gender pay gap. And on average, women still earn less than 20% less than men with the same qualifications, same years of experience. Gender violence has unfortunately also become part of our daily lives. And we can no longer accept and excuse this. It is time to demand bold actions that will accelerate progress towards Agenda 2050. I want to express my gratitude to Sawid for its exceptional role in bringing together women across different backgrounds, different countries, locations, providing space and tools for us to recharge mentally, emotionally, physically, as well as inspiring us to redouble our efforts to ensure that our daughters do not have to face the same battles as their mothers and grandmothers. It also has been a wonderful platform to see intergenerational connection built and strengthened. Yesterday, President Ramaphosa at the UN General Assembly emphasized that the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal depends fundamentally on the empowerment of women in all spheres of life. We call upon men and partners and leaders to ensure that we renew the commitment as allies in championing this cause, because an equal society benefits everyone. On behalf of UN Women and the United Nations in South Africa, I pledge our continued support for the women's movement in Southern Africa, our unwavering commitment for this cause, and we will continue to collaborate with Sawid, and we are dedicating our time and resources to ensure that we support initiatives that will ensure the realization and practical ideas and strategies that will ensure that women live in peace and development. I thank you for listening. Happy anniversary, Sawid.
Thank you very much to UN Women, and thank you for reminding us that it's not just a coincidence that this dialogue is taking place whilst the meetings of the UN General Assembly are taking place in New York, and to really accelerate the advancement for the Sustainable Development Goals with just 6 years, 6.5 years really to meet the targets. And SDGs affect all women, whether we're talking gender equality or climate change or access to education. Every one of those 17 goals fundamentally and tangibly affects women. Thank you for that reminder. All right, ladies, so we're going to do a collective exercise. Ladies, we are going to do a collective exercise. We are going to see if on the count of 3, there can be silence in the room. 1, 2, 2.5, and 3. I already know who the worst offenders are, and I'm going to look in their direction. Let's try this again. On the count of 3, ladies of Sawid, we are going to see if we can achieve an absolute, distinguished, beautiful silence that can nudge a baby to bed. 1, and 2, and 3. Please welcome Me Mangoni Ntaba, the chairperson of the Kagiso board.
Greetings to you all. As I've already been introduced, I'm Mangoni Ntaba. I'm chairperson of the Kagiso Trust. And I'm bringing greetings from the Kagiso Trust and greetings from the Kagiso group of companies. Today, we gather here to celebrate the resilience, the strength, and accomplishments of women from all walks of life. It is an honor to stand before such a remarkable audience and address this incredible gathering. It is very, really humbling to see women of all age groups, of socio-economic groups, of all walks of life. And I am glad that I've been given an opportunity here to greet you on behalf of Kagiso Trust. And before I do that, I should perhaps say protocol observed. I was glad when Metoko was talking here, she put it all for us, and I'll also say protocol observed. First and foremost, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to Sawid, who have worked tirelessly to bring the conference into being. A conference of this size and complexity, with so many participants, it's not child's play. It must have been a very difficult task, but here we are, it has been brought together. Thank you very much. Thank you for creating this platform for women to come together, to connect and inspire. The theme of this conference is advancing peace and development. And this resonates deeply with the vision of Kagiso Trust, which says the vision is a prosperous, peaceful, equitable, just society. Therefore, when we heard about the theme of this conference, we knew that we are on the same page, and we are really appreciative of that. And we really would like to encourage Sawid to go that same trajectory and move from strength to strength. Today is not a day of, say, politicking. If there was, I could, but it's a day of celebration. And we are celebrating Sawid. We are celebrating this 20 years of unwavering support for women development in the country and on the continent and in the world. True progress and prosperity can only be achieved when our societies are rooted in peace and justice. And remember, development and peace are two sides of the same coin. They are not mutually exclusive. One cannot happen without the other. Therefore, the theme of this conference is very relevant, especially now when the world is going in the direction that it is going. There are wars and strife and all that. So when we talk about peace and development, really, I think we are relevant and on the right trajectory. As women, we have always been at the forefront of fostering peace and development in our communities. Even during the most challenging of times, we have demonstrated our resilience, compassion, and ability to bridge divides, reminding the world that peace is not just the absence of conflict, but a state of harmony and understanding. However, let us also acknowledge that there is still much to do. There's still a lot that has to be done. The full potential of women in advancing peace and development. Women continue to face unequal access to resources, unequal access to education and decision-making platforms. But we refuse to be deterred. We refuse to be shut out. We open those doors in every manner that we can. Sometimes we open them aggressively. Sometimes we use our soft voices, and the doors then begin to open. However, let us also acknowledge that there is still much to be done to achieve the full potential of women in advancing peace and development. Today, we want to thank wholeheartedly, to thank Sawid for all the work that the organization has been doing. You know, when 20 years ago, you can imagine when people like Mezanele Mbeki and others came together and with this idea of starting a movement of this nature. Did we ever imagine that Sawid would be what it is today? I'm sure even they themselves are surprised. And I think on that note, we need to really give them a round of applause. And some of you may or may not know that Mezanele Mbeki is also a patron of Kagiso Trust. I didn't tell her that I was going to talk about that, but I think she needs a round of applause. She does good work in our society. In a platform like this, we can learn from one another, gather insights and collaborate on innovative solutions to the challenges we face. This conference provides just that. When one looks at that program, there's not a topical issue that was not talked about or at least introduced and networked in this conference. You look at all those topics, especially that were discussed. Those are the issues that are facing women today. And it's quite heartening that Sawid looked at all those topics and said, we are going to squeeze all of them in this conference and not pick up one here, one there, but bring them together as a package. In conclusion, by coming together as a community, by collaborating and building strong civil society organizations, we can advance peace and development. Our collective efforts can create lasting change, break down barriers, and build a more just and equitable society. Let us seize this opportunity to forge new partnerships, share ideas, and inspire one another. Together we can create a future where women are equal participants in peace building and development. On that note, happy birthday, Sawid, happy birthday, Sawid, happy birthday, Sawid.
Peace is not the absence of conflict. And it reminds me of someone who once said, darkness is not the absence of light. All you just need is a flicker of light to dispel the darkness. And can we be that flicker of light in the societies in which we live? All right, in a short while, we're going to be listening to two of our keynotes from our two distinguished speakers. But before we do that, Meg Griselda Kananda says that you were all promised a kind of a competition or just a moment of celebration. Am I right? Just a short moment of celebration. So because I am the MC for the evening, I think it's fair to say my rules apply. Sorry. So I'm a little bit of a tough boss. So I'm going to allow and make an allowance for us to have this moment of frivolity and levity and fun, but I'm going to ask that we don't prolong it. Is that fair? I'm going to ask that it be quick, just for us to get a sense of who's dressed in their most beautiful cultural regalia, just so that we get a sense of it, a taste of it, and then at the end of the program, then we can really go all out. Is that okay? Yes? Okay, let's do this as we prepare for it, because I hear that people are, women have come from about 15 African countries. So let me see if I can remember as many local languages as possible. So if you're coming all the way from West Africa and Ghana, and I say Akwaba, you say Akwaba. If I say Karibu, you say Karibu sana. If I say bienvenue, you say. If I say nyanamgela, you say. If I say kyalamukhela, you say. Hey, ingati kyalamukhela is the majority in the room. If I say willkommen, you say. Yeah, okay. So we are here to just really honor these many, many cultures, traditions, and the regalia, the cultural, beautiful clothes that are represented here today. So, Os Griselda.
Thank you. Malibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. Leli lizwe elamakhosikazi. Asoze aphela mandla. Asoze aphela mandla. Asoze asoze aphela mandla. Thank you. Bopha ke. Kumnandi ukuba la. It's nice to be here. So we had an agreement, right? Have you got your items prepared? Should we start with SADC or South Africa? SADC, South Africa? What kind of host are you? What kind of host are you? Let's start with the SADC. Right? Andithi ninezindwendwe. So you must be good hosts. So can we have representation from the Comoros? Let me tell you the rules of engagement. Table 33 is going to be the judging panel. These are the judges. If you please them, we have, as we did indicate, we do have gifts. Sandra Samlelat, your heels are going to kill you. You said you're giving us 30 minutes.
No, to be fair, I didn't allocate time.
Oh, well, the judges allocated the time.
So let's do this because I want us to win. I want us to see what it is we need to see, but we're not spending 30 minutes doing it. No. We're going to do it as quickly as is possible so that we can get there. The gifts will be allocated at the end of the program after the cake cutting ceremony, and we can all just enjoy and really celebrate what it is.
We agree.
As you come up, you will be brief, you will be succinct, you will do your twirl, you will show us your dress, and you will exit the stage, please.
So as the items have been prepared, we did not dictate how you do your items. As you celebrate your culture, you show us who you are and where you come from. Can we have representation from the Comoros, please? Where is the Comoros? The Comoros must be followed by Madagascar, followed by Botswana. So this is how we're going to do it. You start on my left, the first country, and the second country will come to my right. It's the Comoros, it's then Madagascar, followed by Botswana. Do you need a mic for your item? Okay. So the Comoros, thank you. Give them a round of applause.
Traditional attire from the different islands. So we're from the biggest island, is from Anjouan. So we have the four different islands.
So they are dressed in the 4 different islands of the Comoros. This one is the biggest island, and these are the smaller islands within the Comoros. Thank you very much. We did say that followed by Madagascar. Madagascar, don't drop the ball, otherwise we will lose. And we will tell you who has won when we finish. Madagascar, do we pass you? Madagascar? There you go. Madagascar represented. Ala. So what is your item? What is your item? You're just showing case of your, you're just showing your flag. And that's it. Just showing the flag. All right. You can exit then. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madagascar. Botswana and the DRC, please follow each other. Botswana, you know how to come to stage. Do the right thing. Ralifita, competition passes when you're not prepared. So but Botswana and the DRC, we are passing you. Oh. Botswana e gorogile. Okay. Batswana shiba. Halala. Where is the DRC at? Hurry up now. We now move all the way to Angola and Eswatini as soon as we see the DRC. So it's the DRC, it's Angola. Angola ba pere di sutu. Okay, thank you very much. We move right along. We now go to Eswatini and Malawi. Eswatini and Malawi. Nawa le maswati amahle izidlubula zedle odlamini bona bobunene. Okay, so it's the DRC, it is Eswatini, or it's Angola and Eswatini. We are now in Malawi. I know some brothers of mine who would say Malawi. We have Malawi, we have Eswatini. Thank you very much. Mauritius and Mozambique, please follow suit. Mauritius and Mozambique, followed by the Seychelles, Zambia. Rea Tlakoli Lesotho, our 10th province. Mauritius, alala. So this is what we wear when we go to the beach. Please come through, please come through. Time is not on our side. Mozambique. Thank you, DJ, for remembering what we planned. Alala, Mozambique. Thank you very much. We're now going to Mauritius. Ala. Yes. Shake what your mama gave you. Ala. Where are the Seychelles at? The Seychelles have brought the big guns. I don't know whether the big guns are coming on stage. We are now in the Seychelles. They cool, calm, and collected. Zambia, where are you? Zambia, followed by Lesotho. Bakae Basotho. Akisho Lesotho la South Africa. Ala. Ria. Bona Basotho, fetang phela. Le a khiba. Ala. Bona. Sebedisa letheka ngwanyana, sebedisa letheka. Sebedisa letheka. All right. So out of these countries, judges, you have to select 3 countries. Judges, I hope you were paying attention. 3 countries. We now move to South Africa. Northwest. Kushota Mang. Northwest. Northwest followed by the Northern Cape. If you are not coordinated, we are going to pick that up. Part of the judging is how you coordinated your presentation. So, bana bari batwere diversity. Bari batwere diversity. Okay. Teuhang. Fitang as a belief. Fitang. But what diversity? Okay, DJ. Operation Sabotage. Ukenya di pina zabo Limpopo, it's fine. Teuhang, Northwest, Teuhang. Apparently our list is missing Namibia. Namibia, please come through. Namibia first, yes, Namibia first. Namibia. Etan, please. Namibia, quickly. Where is Namibia? Namibia cried that you left us out and you are not coming on stage. We are moving right along. Oh, Namibia is here. What is your theme? What is your theme? The Namara Drama dresses. This is Namibia. Thank you. Thank you very much, Namibia. Thank you. So the Northern Cape is next. Allah. Come in and move. What is your theme? Four cultures in the Northern Cape. That is what is being showcased. There's something seriously wrong with my list. Four cultures showcased. There's something wrong with my list. I am missing Zimbabwe, our 10th province. Abomzala bethu, osibari bethu, nama employees wethu. Zimbabwe, come through. Zimbabwe followed by Tanzania. Tanzania, where you at? They want the music, DJ. Tanzania. There's Tanzania for you. Tanzania, thank you. Next up is the Northern Cape, followed by the Free State. Please come closer. Northern Cape ifitile, ne? Free State, followed by Limpopo. And when I say Limpopo, I'm not saying the whole hall must come on stage. Please only send your representation. So which one is this one? Free State ikena fela. Okay, Freystata, thank you. Lihukai. Omu ukena ka mo luna le kena ka mo. Ay. Reafita. We did call it. Okay, Free State, thank you. Alala. Bomme baka kamididi etane. Tewang hera lebo. Raleboha Basotho ba modidietsane. Limpopo. You wanted a song. Batho ba exporta. Bomakatsi. Alala. Literature stage, Tewang. Whoa. Stage is literature, Tewang. Alibatu wa Limpopo, Tewang. Limpopo. Etankamo. Thank you, Limpopo. KwaZulu Natal. It's in and out. Halitlisa schaba kaofela, train ya tsamaya. A ka e ropa Limpopo. KZN Sondela. KwaZulu Natal. Ole Ratombele. Come on. Now kwaZulu. Alala. Tombela. Chesa. Dubula. Hey. Phakamisa umlenze sibone. Yes. Phakamisa umlenze. Latha. Hey. Push. Yehlani ke. Thank you. Mpumalanga, where you at? Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga, iyaphela ingoma yenu. Mpumalanga, ingoma iyaphela. Ehlani. Bomrathu, ingoma iyaphela. Wozani bomake, wozani. Wozani bomake, yehlani. Okay, la kuphuma khona ilanga. Abantu base KZN abafuna amagroupi. Siyabonga DJ. Siyabonga DJ. Siqali Western Cape. Waar is my sister van die Kaap af? Aseten, please. Die hele Kaap is in Gauteng. O jene, die hele Kaap is in Gauteng. Western Cape does not want music, DJ. Western Cape does not want music. Yehlani Mpumalanga. When you call a land. Tula Sawid. Please go through. Stage isizowa. Stage isizawuphuka. Go through. Thank you, Western Cape. Thank you, Western Cape. We go down. Off we go. They represent diversity. Amaxhosa, Indians, coloreds, and white, they said. Off we go, please. Off we go. Asethen, sizowi stage. Asethen. Thank you. Last province is Gauteng. Kusasot the Eastern Cape. No, we have a reason why we said Eastern Cape last. Yes, there's a reason. So Gauteng was. Gauteng, what do you represent?
Gauteng.
What's your theme? Music. Gauteng wants to sing. Gauteng is the United Nations of Africa. That's what they represent. Ngenani ke? 4 minutes iyaphela. It's 4 minutes. You can't have a mic. You can't have unfair advantage. No unfair advantage. Nobody had a mic. Culani into yenu nindlule. Isikhathi siyaphela. Siyandlula, 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 siyandlula. Asehleni, asehleni. Siyabulela. Thank you, thank you. Asehleni, asehleni, asehleni. Hayi, 4 minutes. Senindlulile 4 minutes. Nibaningi kakhulu nani. Yehlani fast esitebhisini please. Four minutes, nibaningi kakhulu. Ngisebahle. Nibeke ngobuhle. Ehlani nibeke ngobuhle. Hayi ubuhle beSawid ngempela. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. And now we would like to call upon the Eastern Cape. But as they come through, we have to acknowledge how brave Eastern Cape was. Eastern Cape ibujelwe. We have observed a moment of silence and simcelile umdali ukuthi Miss Memela's soul may rest in peace. They prepared themselves. Last item. We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Sanutati ixesha. Alva. Kuman, Vel. Abanye bazazi ukuthi babelonga kwamapha ama-province. Bayaziphinda-phinda. Hey, manje le? Lebe ila yipi Eastern Cape. Hey, batho. There's 2 provinces, the Eastern Cape. I-expector ke le. Maxhosa maninzi. Funeka sinigoduse nivele emva. Amagoduka. Jesa. Eke. Ngiyakhendzwa emaXhoseni. Eke. Enkosi siyabulela. Ladies, give all the groups a round of applause. Oh mama balilizele. Abanye babethi flates. Happy birthday, Sawid. We'll come back with the winners. Siyabulela. DJ betha kancinci.
All right. All right, I don't want to be the party pooper, but I'm going to ask for all Sawi delegates to take their seats. I'm not a judge, I'm not at the judging table, but from where I'm standing, there's such a rich tapestry of culture. There's just such a fantastic expression of culture that from where I'm standing, everybody's a winner. All right, so may I ask you please to take your seats? I'm glad you're feeling a little bit energized and getting into the party spirit. And so it's a fantastic forbearing for the party that's to come. But for now, please, ladies of Sawid, the 23 regions, the 9 provinces of South Africa, the 15 regions in sub-Saharan Africa, in SADC, please, can I ask you to take your seats? And perhaps we can repeat the exercise of having a breath. Take a deep breath. And on a count of 3, we're going to have a collective hiss for silence. And so number 1, and number 2, and number 3. And can the room go into a hush? We'll do it again. A number 1. And a number 2, and a number 3. Could everybody take their seats and hush? Including the ladies from Gauteng who clearly didn't win the competition. You'll get a second chance. Hush. Thank you very much. So this week I came across a quote from William Shakespeare. It's very simple, but I think profound. And apparently Shakespeare once said, the greatest legacy you can leave in this life is honesty. Just to live your life as an honest person and to be known to have been an honest person. The greatest legacy to leave this life is honesty. And from where I'm standing, our keynote speaker lives her life in honesty. There's 2 keynote speakers. I'll introduce them in the succession in which is written in the program. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for us to hear from Oya Hazel Gumede, a former Sawid chairperson and feminist lawyer. And we're also going to hear from Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Honesty. And so, with respect, with deference, with silence, could you lend an ear, please, to Oya Hazel Gumede?
Shane. Ninjani namhlanje? Ay, naze nabahle nonke, sesinibonile. 20 years ago, I had the unique privilege of delivering the inaugural keynote address at the Sawid conference. Ngiyakumbula clearly back then how I was filled with extraordinary hope for our country. Indeed, I remember some of the anecdotes that I told. One of them being the fact that South Africa was in a kairos moment in time. You see, I'm a Greek, have two explanations of isikhathi. The one is chronos time, which is time as we know it, and the other one is kairos time, isikhathi esingcwele, magical time, deep time, sacred time. I spoke about the fact that during the 1990s in South Africa, we were in magical, in Kairos time. Indeed, my 2003 speech reflected the belief that most of us esasinayo back then. We were positive about our country. And in the words of the Archbishop Desmond Tutu at the 7th annual Steve Biko Memorial Lecture, South Africa was, open quotes, a scintillating success waiting to happen. Today, 20 years later, isikhulumo sami, my address, is centered around the stories of uBongeka Buso, who was 32 from Butterworth, uNomboleko Smayile, who was also 32 from Ngobo in the Eastern Cape, noNtomzanele Mtisizelwa, who was 35 from Port St. John's. Note their ages. They all lived the majority of their lives in democratic South Africa. I am centering my address on these ladies and their children, who collectively were 12 in number. Today, I'm telling a story about the many mothers of Bishop Lavos in Cape Town, also in their 20s and 30s. Nabonya umama abasha abasekatlohong, whose profession is shoplifting with their children in order ukuthi bebeke ukudla etafuleni. Indeed, namhlanje, my address is centered on the countless nameless and faceless, predominantly African youth in Gauteng, KZN, and in the Eastern Cape, whose lives are so hellish that they choose to commit suicide to end it all. Bongeka and Tomzanele kill their children, babulala ingane zabo, and then they kill themselves. Unomboleko killed her children with a hammer, and then a few days later, washona in police custody of natural causes. The communities, umphakathi wayibheka konke lokhu, ungazi ukuthi uzothini, and umphakathi turned around and said, asazi ukuthi kwenzeke ntoni kulezi ingane, but asazi kufanele ukuthi kukhona uSathane obekhona. Sadly, I can say with conviction that they simply could not take the burden of living the hellish life of the average black African woman in South Africa. And therefore, they decided to end it all. I think that I, on some level, however inadequate, understand. You see, Usolani was my part-time domestic worker, and I figure 2 days a week. And she was pulled back by some of us from that dangerous cliff last year. A 40-year-old single mother, onengane ezisihlanu, 5 children, living in one room with bonke labantwana in rat-infested Alexander Township. Solani got tired of living. and ngakubona lokho. Wakhathala ukuphila. Wakhathala ukuphila. Wayethi ngimbuka uSolani, I could see that she was fading away. And I saw that she was becoming progressively disillusioned and contemplating ukuyibulala. And then ngesinye isikhathi wayicabanga loudly ethi, kodwa uma ngihamba sis Hayes, labantwana bazohlupheka. Bazohlupheka kakhulu kunalokhu hlupheka abahlupheka nami khona. If I die, if I go, these children are going to suffer more than they are suffering with me right now. And I used to say to uyaphi Solani, awuyindawo. Uzophuma kulolu taku sizokusiza. I'm certain that Solani, like the ladies of the Eastern Cape, was contemplating killing herself and possibly even killing her children. Siyambonga kuThixo that together with some of her friends and a support system from Alex, she was able to be pulled out of this deadly train of thought. Sifike kanjani lapha? How did we get here? How did we get to the point where the average life of an African and colored person in South Africa, and in particular that of women and children, became so hellish and so futile in their eyes? How did we get to the point where it is seemingly okay for millions of the majority African and colored people to survive on so little, if anything at all? Sifike kanjani lapha? How did we get to such unacceptable levels of poverty, unemployment, and lack of enterprise for most African women and youth? To the highest levels of income inequality in the world, to having cesspools of drug abuse all over. Iy'ngane zethu ziyashona iy'ngane zethu idakamizwe. How did we get here? To young colored girls living in lolly lounges in El Dorado Park, to African kids dropping out of school and becoming part of the needs category and not working and being told that they should be working between 15 and 24 when they should be at school. How did we get here? How did this country, with its majority black people, and even more pointedly, those who are of African and colored descent, move from hope inspired to a dream deferred to a dream destroyed? How did we get here? And most importantly, what is to be done if we are to bring South Africa back from this dangerous precipice and deadly abyss? A few thoughts on how we got here. Number one, reconciliation, the necessary bridge from our apartheid past to the present, was a rotten seed. Kwakbolile. And it could not lay the proper roots for a solid foundation for our future. In the words of Dr. Alan Busak, reconciliation was neither radical, nor real and personal, nor revolutionary. Number two, this then by necessary implication meant all the systems and the structures that were created by hundreds of years of slavery, colonialism, racial capitalism, and apartheid were left completely untouched. 30 years later in democratic South Africa, they are still running like well-oiled machines. From banking to land, agriculture, and food production and distribution, to spatial planning and housing, on and on and on. Put differently, there's been a chronic failure to reimagine our society outside of the models of the apartheid state. A failure of innovative and intentional post-apartheid statecraft. A failure to undo the systems and the structures that were intentionally and purposefully created to keep black people poor. Number three, psyche and trauma of black people was never properly addressed. And by implication, The psyche and trauma of white people as the oppressor was also left unattended to. This meant that the entire system of whiteness and its superiority was left intact, and the colorally system of blackness being inferiority to date remains. Number 4, I will state it because it's an important layer of our present disfigured and dystopian reality. The 4th point, right, is to say that anything that needs to be said about the failures and disappointment of the ANC as the ruling party is and has been said over and over again by many of us, and therefore begs no repetition. So sifikile la namhlanje. Siphila eNingizimu Afrika. Abanye benu ngiyafisa ngathi ngiyephendele emakhaya ngoba impilo inzima ekhaya. Some of you, ngiyafisa ukuthi ngingathatha ukudla nikufake esikhafutinini nikuphathele izingane zenu ngoba konke lokudla enikudlayo izingane zilambile emakhaya. Abanye benu mhlambe abayiholanga imali yegrant kule nyanga. Why? Because of SASSA and the post office. Indeed, the recent SASSA drama of unpaid grants has once again, correctly so, made us lament the fact that we truly have an uncaring government. But, what we have in South Africa is a far worse problem than an uncaring government. What we have is an uncaring society. What we have is an indifferent society. What we have is, most honestly put, what Biko would have unflinchingly said and diagnosed and called out as an evil society, devoid of conscience, with those who identify themselves as religious and or spiritual being disobedient to God. Biko says, and I quote, open quotes, obedience to God, in the sense that I have accepted it, is in fact at the heart of the conviction of the most selfless revolutionaries. It is a call to men and women of conscience to offer themselves and sometimes even their lives for the eradication of an evil, close quote. This is not a government conference. Neither is it a political meeting, nor is it a leadership conference. This is a gathering of Sawid. Therefore, it is apt for me to primarily focus on us as a society tonight. Number 1, we truly are an uncaring society. For only an uncaring society can endlessly pontificate about the unsustainable levels and forever increasing levels of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, while merely, as Abelungu would say, rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We are indeed an uncaring society. For it is only in an uncaring society that some of us can be vociferously active in movements to protect democracy, whilst these movements have never, ever taken it upon themselves to be seized with a relentless agenda to answer the question of what it will take to truly see the average African and colored South Africans' lived experience personify and embody the very constitutional values of human dignity that they don't know, equality, which they don't know, non-racialism, which they don't know, and non-sexism, which they don't know. Number 2, we are an indifferent society. For it is in an indifferent society that the very few can live the lives that they live at the continued expense of the many. Sithi thina maZulu abanye badla izamba nelikapondo while abanye behlupheka. It is only in such a society that those who are the profiteers and beneficiaries of this unsustainable system can then turn around and gaslight the poor by blaming them for, quote unquote, having too many babies and so-called making wrong choices. It is only in such a society that we can continue to make no effort at all to understand irrefutable biological and scientific principles such as early childhood development, general human development, neuroscience, and the lived impact of intergenerational poverty, so that we can finally try and understand why our majority African and colored black brothers and sisters who live the nightmares of condemned lives from birth to early graves make the so-called choices that they do. Indeed, it is only in such an indifferent society that unfair and blatantly uninformed and incorrect judgments can be quick. In such a society, understanding is little or out of the window. Sympathy is in extremely short supply, and empathy is on COVID oxygen masks. We are perhaps truly even an evil society. For it is only in such a society that we can, till now in 2023, have allowed white people as a collective group to continue get away with the cardinal sin of apartheid. Bless Evita Bazadenhold. For as recently as 2019, being honest, and I quote, Peter Dirk Ace, open quote, did we whites ever think that we would get away with apartheid? But we did. Nothing happened to us. There were no Nuremberg trials. No one was hanged like Saddam Hussein for crimes against humanity. We embraced the delightful sounds of the Soweto String Quartet and salmoned our way from dining rooms to kitchens, hugging the former maid as the new soulmate and eyeing the garden boy as our future PE partner. Close quote. That's Peter Dirk Ace. Today, it is these very white people who have never accounted that wax lyrical and ad nauseum about black people that have messed up the country, and they boldly lay the entire can of where we are at the feet of the ANC leaders. The latter, the ANC leaders that is, who have incidentally done more than their fair share to exacerbate the mess and betray the majority of our citizens. White people do this while implying an inherent DNA-coded black inferiority and stupidity. And they sit perched on high moral chairs, willing to hear absolutely nothing about their historic and continued culpability. It is perhaps only in such a society that those of us who are part of the few black economic and political elites inside and outside of the church can continue to lie low, saying and doing little about anything that really matters, inauthentically and practically advocating for the poor and for deep structural change. Why? Because we do not want to rogue the boat of the system that works for us. We do not want to bite the hands that feeds us. And so, similar to white people, and their modus operandi, we set up NGOs, trusts, charitable foundations, and scratch the itch of the suffering of the downtrodden black people. Indeed, it is only in such a society that Sobukwe, if he were alive today, would be renouncing and denouncing us African people who are on the higher end of Maslow's hierarchy. And he would call us traitors for being arguably indifferent to the continued suffering of our fellow brothers and sisters. Sobukwe said, and I quote, "What education means to us is the identification of ourselves with the masses. And if you see any signs of broad-mindedness or reasonableness in us, if you hear us talk of practical experience as a modifier of our views, denounce us as traitors of Africa." Lastly, we must be an evil society. For it is only in an evil society that izinja, dogs, can live better lives than the majority of its citizens. Dogs are groomed in fancy parlors, they eat fancy nutritious food, and have expensive treats. Open quotes from a website of a dog parlor. Our grooming services are designed to ensure the absolute comfort, well being, and good looks of your pet. Services include cut, brush, wash and blow, nail clipping, ear cleaning, teeth brushing, doggy powder and perfume, and signature bandanas. A dog parlor that I am certain all of the people doing the dog grooming work is predominantly African people whose lives and that of their children is not a teeny weeny fraction as qualitative in comparison to the dogs that they work on. It is only in a society and in a country as richly endowed as South Africa that we can, day in and day out, 3 decades post the selling of the failed concept of trickle-down economics and prosperity, watch the majority of the descendants of the very poor same people who for centuries were violated, traumatized, stunted in development, incessantly abused, dehumanized, etc., continue to live the same lives that they lived, just because we do not want to disturb anything. What then is to be done? What is to be done? How do we move forward? Nature and life teach us that you reap what you sow. Those of us who have gardens know, awutshala ummbila uvuna amadumbe. If you sow corn, you reap corn. Seemingly, so much being sown, so much done in South Africa. Seemingly, so much being done all over Africa. So many NGOs, so many seeds sown, yet so very little fruit. That alone should tell us that we should ask ourselves serious questions about sowing, what we are sowing, how we are sowing, and how we should be sowing. How then should we move forward? I will start with a clarion call to us black people who sit in various levels of privilege and who therefore by implication have a greater responsibility. We, these black people, need to once again be willing to hear the voices of God, to hear the voices of the founding fathers and mothers of this country, the voices of our ancestors. All of these voices incessantly ask us, wenzani, nenzeni? What have you done? What are you doing? Where is your brother? Where is your sister? Indeed, looking at the country today, I can boldly state that we do not hear these voices. And when we hear them, like Cain in the garden, we boldly respond, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my sister's keeper? Asibambeni! Asibambeni! Asibambeni makhosikazi, asibambeni ngiqede. Ngithi igazi likaCain, igazi, njengegazi likaCain, the blood of Bongeka and her children, the blood of Ntombizanele and her children, the blood of Nombulego and her children, the blood and the souls of the millions who are nameless and faceless in this country. This blood, these souls, they don't just cry out, they scream for justice. Bayakhalisa, bayalila, but where is justice? My hope and prayer is that for some of us, this blood will awaken us to action. Asibambeni makhosikazi ngiqede. We have to address the roots, the structures, the systems, the architecture of South African society. We have to carefully plan the new South Africa. We have to go back to the drawing board of the TRC. We have to overhaul the systems and structures of South Africa. We have to redefine our relationship with the continent of Africa. And we have to say, forward, forward. To the women, I say, aluta continua. To the young people, I say, Wakanda forever. Asante san, forward ever.
Thank you so much, Oya. It was riveting, it was passionate, it was provocative, it was thought-provoking, and it was candid and honest. I told you that Shakespeare says the legacy you leave in this life is honesty. So ladies of Sawid, it's getting late, and we also are ready to put on our dancing shoes. And so, ladies of Sawid, can I ask for your attention, please? And so, at this juncture, in honor of the 20th anniversary of this dynamic movement that puts us front and center, can we give a rousing applause to a woman who's dedicated her life to putting women front and center? The Honorable Minister of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities, the former chairperson of the African Union, our former Minister of Foreign Affairs, a stalwart of our struggle, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma.
Viva Sawid, viva! Viva Sawid, viva! Viva Sawid! Thank you, Program Director. Let me respectfully greet Usis Togo, Sis Zanele, the steering committee, the SADC and the provincial coordinators and delegates. And let me greet all of you who are here. Me, I like Sawid. I like Sawid because it has created a unique platform, a platform where you can talk about your trouble, your aspirations, your ambitions, your dreams, and everything, your frustrations, without being judged. It's a platform where the elderly and the young come together. It's a platform which respects age. And I think we must appreciate age. It's denied to a lot of other people. Age has experience and wisdom. And if you put it together with the young, dynamic, innovative, creative young people, you produce something very unique. And it's a platform where every woman from all walks, any walk of life, feels comfortable. Even myself, coming from where I come from, I feel comfortable. And thank you for that, Sawid. Keep it up. But also, Sawid brings all of us together, from the rural, from the urban, and does not discriminate whether you are educated, whether you are rich. It doesn't matter. And it reminds me of somebody who said, some of the most generous people have no money. You can see the generosity of spirit here, but it's not people who have money. And some of the wisest people have no education. And some of the kindest people have been hurt most. And Sawid brings all that together. And you've been discussing for the past 4 days, obviously looking at what needs to be done. And I look forward from where I sit to the resolutions and inputs from Sawid that would come from your discussions that we have had over the last 4 days. And of course, at the center of that is what was said by the previous keynote speaker. It's poverty, inequality, hunger. Because as humans, we've created a world that God did not create for us. God put us in a garden and wanted us to eat what is in the garden. But we have created a society where you have to pay to survive. We're the only species on this earth that has to pay to survive. So, if you are not working and you don't have money, then it becomes difficult to survive. And that's why even previous generations came together, united and organized. If you remember the slogan, the women who marched to Pretoria, they said they must organize, unite for people's power. Now, people's power has many dimensions, but because of time, I'll only talk about 2 dimensions. One is political power. But political power is meaningless if you don't have economic power. Because you can have the political power, but if you don't have the economic power, the people will still be poor. The people will still be hungry. And so what do we have in South Africa that can change where we are? Because we are not in a space that we really want to be in. One, we must look at what we have, because you can only change the world with what you have. What we have is us. The most precious resource of any nation is its people. So it's us, which means we must ensure that we invest in the people. We must invest in the people. We must invest in education and skills so that especially the young people can be skilled either to get jobs or create jobs. We shouldn't just be looking at them being job seekers, but we must also produce job creators. We must also invest in people in a way that they can be able to use the resources of the country. I always talk about the paradox of Africa. The paradox of Africa is that Africa is rich, Africans are poor. And that goes for all of us. Africa is rich. The countries that are developed on what we have and they don't have. They developed on all the things we have that they don't have. But they took it from us. That's why when they first came to Africa, what was the first thing they took? Was the land. The first thing they took was the land, because they know if you have land, you can't starve. So, that's the paradox. In Africa, on this continent, we have 60% of the world's arable land that is still available, still not used. But we import food. Shouldn't be. We should be able to grow our own food and probably contribute to feeding the world. So that's what I think we should be doing. And I'm glad that Sawid has put agriculture at the center of development. We have minerals on the continent, but we're not using them. We're sending them to other people to use. We must ensure that our minerals are beneficiated here and our natural resources. They must be beneficiated here, processed here, and then sent out as finished goods. But what do? And I think Sawid must be part of those voices that say we must stop sending out raw material. When you send raw material, you're not only sending raw material, you are exporting jobs. We are the biggest exporter of jobs because those raw materials are processed, beneficiated, and those jobs are even higher than the jobs that are for mining and growing. So we're the biggest exporter of jobs. We are also the biggest exporter of revenue. Why? Because if you send something raw, probably you sell it for 10 rands. When it comes back, it's 100 rands or more. So those are the few things that I want to talk about. And as this department, I want to say a few things because I don't want to take too much of your time. Because when you are hungry, you are angry. I don't want you to be angry with me. One of the things that we need to do is to look at the financial sector. If we don't control the financial sector, forget. It's the commanding heights of the economy. And one of the things is not that black people don't have ideas, or they do, but they don't have access to finance. So that's one of the things that we must be fighting for, access to finance. And as the department, we are saying, we know that is not in our hands, but what is in our hands, we can establish a cooperative bank. And we've started that process. We've commissioned the agency that is legally in charge of establishing cooperative banks to take us through all the processes, because that is in our hands. A cooperative bank is owned by the people. They make the rules. They decide what to do with the money. You initially put your 500 rands plus 100 rands for administration. The 500 rands buys you a share in the bank. You become a shareholder. So that's what we want to do. The second thing that I want to talk about, after the BRICS meeting, we agreed with India. They have an interesting program. That program is called Solar Mamas. They take women from the rural areas and they train them on how to make solar panels, how to install them, and how to maintain them. So we are going to be sending women, because we can't send many, we're discussing that we must send some that are going to be trained, but some who are going to be trainers who can come back and do the training here in South Africa. So that program is going to start around November. Those women will go to India around November. So then at least we can solve some of the problem ourselves as women. Make our own solar panels, install them, maintain them. And hopefully that can also contribute to the problem that we are facing of load shedding, because they will be now producing energy from solar. I had a lot to say, but I can see you're exhausted. I'm not going to go any further, except to say we want to have an MOU with Sawid. So in the next 20 years, Sawid have an MOU with us, but you ventured into SADC region, now venture into the continent, the rest of the continent. Now go to PAO, also work with PAO. But we as women can change this world. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you, Minister. All right. All right, so what the minister is urging is that you be the change you want to see. So, ladies, I wonder if you'll allow me, if you will indulge me just one last time. No, please, no, wait, let me make the proposal. So, I'm literally the only thing standing between you and your dinner, and I don't want to do that. And I'm also the only thing really standing between you and the party, the get down, the dancing. But there's one last thing we need to do, and it doesn't involve a speech, but it is very ceremonial. There's no birthday party without a cake cutting ceremony, right? Can we all stand up, invite the Secretariat of Sawid, as well as Mam Togo and Mam Mbeki to join us on stage as they cut the cake, and we can sing happy birthday to Sawid, after which we adjourn for dinner. So may I invite the Secretariat and Mam Togo? And if the knife can make its way, please, to the front. And as they make their way, perhaps we can sing a happy birthday. 1, 2, 3, and.
I'm maybe the boss, but I'm giving the vote of thanks now.
You're doing it
As they finish, as they finish. I'm fine, thanks.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sawid. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Nog a pip. She's a jolly good fellow. Of course, she's a jolly good fellow. She's a jolly good fellow. She's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. that she's a jolly good fellow. She's a jolly good fellow. She's a jolly good fellow. That knows her lover. Okay. That's it. Oh, they're asking for a quick picture, please. We'll go to next to the screen, camera person. We'll just go next to the screen.
Oh, no, you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Everybody has gone down too. Hi, good evening, everybody. I see everybody has now gone off to go and get food. But before we do that, if we could just do one last thing and do a vote of thanks to all the people that worked to make this possible. I'm going to name and shame Vatiswa. I'm going to name and shame I'm going to name and shame and take a leaf from our MC's book. Sister, I'm fighting a losing battle, but let me just go on. I'm not going to make any closing remarks because it's going to take a lot of time, but I just want to say a few words and then do the vote of thanks. Lihle Chabalala, your table is misbehaving. Lihle, please call your colleagues to order whilst we make a vote of thanks, please. I am going to name and shame. Can I thank our sponsors for this evening? I would like to thank the WDB Trust for being the key sponsor for this evening. But at the same time, we had other sponsors that made it possible for us to have this party that we're having. I'd like to thank Nozala, the Darien Foundation, MTN, Kagiso Trust, Old Mutual, Dr. Caroline Love, and I'd like to thank Kijima for providing us with the lanyards that we used for our name tags this evening. I would also like to thank the Secretariat, and here I have to once again single Marte out, who leads the Secretariat and is Sawid's institutional memory. Thank you, Marte, for everything, and long may you last, because Sawid rests on your shoulders. I'd like to thank the organizing committee that was led by Vatiswa. Vatiswa, I do want to invite you up to stage. Yes, I would like you just to join me here. You don't have to say anything. And bring your team with you, Marte, if you could come. Lusanda, Nonkubela, Matapelo, Nandipa, Penina, Pindi, Nombuso, Nontlantla, Semi, Ntswaki. I hope I've called all of you. If I missed you on the list, please join us on stage so that the people here can see the team that was behind organizing this evening. And yes, let's give them a round of applause. I'd like to thank our chairman of the Board of Trustees, Usisitogo Mpumlwana. I will not call her to stage because she's older than me. But I'd like to thank my baby sister as well, Griselda, who is a trustee. But she played a very key role, and I would like her to join me on stage. She's been supporting Mam Togo, supporting me, and doing all the work that I was supposed to do, plus the work that she's supposed to do as a trustee. And I want to say thank you, my sister. Thank you. I told you I owe you big, and I'd like you to be here with me. I'd like to thank all the trustees as well who stood in and made sure that we support Sistogo. When Sistogo started talking about this about 18 months ago, we all thought she was dreaming again, but her dream has realized, and we are all here today. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our esteemed speakers and really wish we had more time to have had to spend with them. I'm not going to thank everybody by name, but I'd like to thank the regions and the provinces who make Sawid possible, because they are the people who do the work on the ground. Long may they be active, and without them, there is no Sawid. Also have to mention our founder, who's not going to thank me for this, but Sizanele, thank you for your leadership over many, many years. Siyabonga Sisi. I'd like to thank all the teachers, all the people who led the discussions we had. Like to thank the devotion leaders, the youth choir that we saw earlier, the ones who gave messages of congratulations over the last few days, the fireside chat leaders, the poets, the comedians that had us laugh. I want to thank the Wise Sawid leaders, because the future of Sawid rests on them. And I'd like to say the two things that we cannot walk away from: the issue of poverty and the issue of mental wellness. Those are issues, Sistogo, that we need to continue to focus on, to continue to work on, so that we can get to where we need to get to. Lastly, I'd like to thank this evening's speakers. They really gave us food for thought and food for all the other dialogues that we need to have going into the future. And want to thank our program director, who, an enviable that she was, thanks, Nana. The job that she did was a great job. You held it together for a very long time. Thank you very much. And lastly, I want to thank all the women that have spent the last 4 days here and the few brave men who joined us. Thank you very much, and long may Sawid live. Ndiyabulela.
No, I'm not interrupting anything. I'd like to say thank you, Osam Paul. Thank you to the Secretariat. Thank you to all the women. It is officially party time. I know that many of you are already at the buffet station getting your supper. Please follow suit. And then we'll let you enjoy the rest of the evening listening to Sis Pinda. She entertains us. The DJ is going to be hitting up the dance floor. And of course, we'll hear who won the competition. Enjoy the rest of your evening and make it a celebration.
He got no